Discover 10 amazing life-changing secrets from John D. Rockefeller, the inspiring wealth legend. Emma's fingers danced over the faded, leather-bound book she uncovered in her grandmother's attic. Dust swirled like a ghost around her as she carefully opened its cover. She felt a strange mix of curiosity and desperation grip her heart. Here, buried among the remnants of her past, lay the promises of 10 transformative secrets that could potentially change everything. In a town where hope was often hidden beneath layers of hardship, Emma needed a miracle. The worn pages revealed intense life lessons wrapped in fortune and fervor. What if these principles could change the course of her life? She envisioned a brighter future for her 2 children, Jacob and Lily, things she could barely afford to wish for amid the noise of her daily struggles at the diner and the grocery store. The smell of fried food lingered in her uniform, mingling with the scent of bleach from cleaning the cash register. But the idea of digging her family out of poverty sparkled like a distant star. Day by day, Emma rose before dawn and hustled between jobs, each shift draining yet empowering. She relished the laughter of regulars at the diner, reliving stories of resilience over coffee and greasy plates. Yet, after each shift, reality pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone. Bills piled up, and her dreams seemed to drift further beyond grasp. During those quiet moments while kneading dough in the kitchen, she often found herself longing for something more than just survival. Her grandmother, a force of tradition, had always stressed the importance of loyalty and perseverance. "Stick to what you know, Emma," she would say, her voice echoing through Emma's thoughts. But with each page she thumbed through, Emma felt the clash between family loyalty and her own aspirations widen. An image of her grandmother's wary eyes haunted her, filled with a wisdom forged by years of hardship. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emma's ambitions grew, so did the distance between her and her grandmother. Francesca would sit quietly, knitting solace into every stitch, scolding softly, "Traditions matter, Emma." Each disapproving look felt like a serrated blade cutting through their bond. Tensions simmered, paint peeling from walls that once echoed with laughter. Just as she thought change was within reach, an unexpected storm rolled into town. The diner shuttered, and the grocery store teetered on the brink of closure. Emma's heart thudded with urgency. Her once flickering resolve now caught fire. The Rockefeller secrets buzzed in her mind, urging her to take action. She gathered her neighbors, swaying with determination, and rallied everyone for unity. Voices combined, awakening hope beneath the despair, fusing a strength that echoed through the community. Yet, the twists of fate were far from over. A prominent local businesswoman caught wind of Emma's efforts and extended a lifeline. But could this come with strings attached? Emma felt her breath catch, wrestling with the prejudices embedded in small-town life. Would she compromise her values for a chance at success? As she stood at the precipice of change, Emma faced a question that tremored in her heart. Could she reconcile her dreams with her family's past, or would she have to sacrifice one for the other? Emma felt her heart race as she considered the offer. The businesswoman, Claire, had a reputation for pulling off miracles in the community, transforming failing businesses into thriving enterprises. But Emma knew the whispers that followed Claire, tales of cutthroat deals and tough stances that left little room for sentiment. "Sometimes you have to take the leap, Emma," Claire had said, her eyes sharp with ambition. Those words slithered through her mind, tempting her with visions of success, of a community rejuvenated, of her children with brighter prospects. But as Emma looked at the flickering lights of the diner, the place where she had spent countless hours, the smell of coffee and grease clinging to the air, doubt crept in. Would signing on the dotted line lead to the changes she yearned for? Or would it mean selling her soul to someone who didn't understand the values she held dear? One late evening, as she tucked her children into bed, Emma glided her fingers over the book of secrets resting on her kitchen table. She couldn't shake the feeling that this book might hold answers to her quandary. What if one of the principles contained therein could provide the clarity she so desperately needed? The next morning, she sat down at the kitchen table with a steaming cup of coffee and opened the book, pages crackling like the sound of her thoughts racing. The first secret she read was about vision, how essential it was for success. Emma closed her eyes, imagining a future where Jacob and Lily could play in safe parks, where laughter echoed in a home unburdened by financial strain. Could she become that visionary leader the town needed? She tilted her head, chewing on the idea. But visions required courage, didn't they? Courage to stand up against familial expectations and community norms. As she mulled it over, the sound of children playing outside caught her ear. Her heart swelled with a mix of warmth and guilt. The older children cackled with joy, riding their bikes up and down the street. Emma smiled, but soon her smile faded. Will my kids have these simple pleasures in a few years? What if I don't make a move? What if this is my only chance? Her thoughts spiraled, and frustration clawed at her. What would Francesca think if Emma chose to part ways with their traditions? As she brewed tea, Emma decided to visit her grandmother that afternoon. Perhaps sharing her ideas would yield a newfound understanding, or at least solidify her path. Arriving at her grandmother's home, Emma hesitated at the door. What if Francesca didn't understand? But the moment she stepped into the small, sunlit living room, the smell of freshly baked bread wrapped around her like a hug. Francesca looked up from her chair, smile brightening the room. Emma, my dear, what brings you here? The familiar warmth comforted Emma, even as the weight of her decision paralyzed her tongue. She sat across from her grandmother, heart pounding in her chest. I need to talk to you about making some changes. The flicker in her grandmother's eyes made Emma's breath catch. How would Francesca react? Could they find a middle ground? When Emma finally shared her thoughts of the businesswoman's offer, Francesca's expression darkened, knitting needles pausing mid-stitch. This is about more than just survival, Emma. It's our family traditions we're talking about. Emma's chest tightened as she encountered the same wall she had feared. I'm trying to build a future, she blurted, frustration rising. One that doesn't feel like an endless fight. Francesca took a deep breath, and the silence thickened between them. Would this be the moment that broke them apart, or could it be a turning point? Emma stared into her grandmother's eyes, searching for some sign of understanding. The two women, so rooted in their convictions, stood on the brink of something monumental. What would Francesca say next? Would Emma's dreams and her grandmother's traditions finally find a way to coexist, or would it tear their bond apart irrevocably? The silence stretched between them like an unwelcome guest, clinging to the air. Emma could feel her heart pounding, the noise echoing in her ears as she searched her grandmother's face for any glimmer of compassion or understanding. Francesca's brow furrowed, her hands trembling slightly over the knitting she had dropped onto her lap. You're talking about something much bigger than just money, Emma. This is our history, our identity. I know, Emma replied, her voice rising as the frustration bubbled over. But what if our history is what's holding us back? I want more for Jacob and Lily. I don't want them to grow up just get by. I want them to thrive. Francesca sat back, as if Emma's words had physically pushed her. The grandmother's gaze focused on a framed photo beside her. It captured a joyful moment, young Emma, sitting on her lap, both of them laughing. Emma couldn't help but feel that weight of nostalgia mixed with the sting of the present tension. Your dreams can't replace who we are, Emma, Francesca said, her voice steady yet tight with emotion. You say you want to build a future, but what about our past? Our family worked hard for what we have. Sacrifices were made. Emma swallowed, the anger dissipating but the guilt flooding in. I don't want to forget, Grandma. I want to build on that foundation, not just survive it. Her eyes welled up as she spoke. It's not about erasing our traditions. It's about transforming them, making them relevant for today. Francesca sighed, a hesitant crease forming at the corner of her eyes. Emma felt a flicker of hope as she watched her grandmother process the words, the gears of her mind slowly turning. I just want our community to shine again, Emma pressed on. So many people struggle, and it doesn't have to be this way. Claire, she understands the workings of growth, and whether we like it or not, we need to adapt to survive. But at what cost? Francesca asked, her brow knitted. You think success comes easy. You think it aligns with your values. But these deals can come with a price of their own, especially when ambition overtakes compassion. Emma leaned forward, feeling the weight of both her dreams and her love for her grandmother. I want you to be a part of it, to help shape it. We could work together, learn from each other's strengths. Use what you know about our traditions to guide this new vision. The room felt charged with a mix of tension and possibility, much like a storm about to break. Francesca finally looked directly at Emma, her expression softening just slightly. You truly believe in this, don't you? Yes, I do. Francesca paused, her fingers fidgeting with her knitting needles, and Emma felt a rush of urgency for the moment hanging in the air. Then I suppose we need to talk more. Before Emma could respond, a loud crash from the kitchen shattered the intensity of the moment. Both women jolted, eyes wide with surprise. Jacob, Francesca called as she pushed herself up, already heading toward the noise. Emma rushed after her, heart still racing and thoughts swirling. What had just begun to feel like a breakthrough crumbled again into the chaos of everyday life. Emma entered the kitchen to find Jacob sitting on the floor, a concentration of snacks spilled around him. He looked up, wide-eyed, guilt sparkling in his innocence as she knelt beside him. A mixture of love and pressing doubt surfaced within her. Family was everything, but change felt so imperative now. Could she find a way to weave both, honoring her roots while chasing her dreams? She turned to Francesca, who was shaking her head with a chuckle, the moment of intensity melting into laughter. But Emma felt a familiar weight settle on her heart again. Was this chaos going to derail her plans? Or could it be the catalyst she needed to push forward? Would she take the leap alone or lead her family with her? For the moment, the answer felt just out of reach, but one thing was clear. They were on the brink of a decision that could change everything. What was at stake wasn't just her ambitions, but the very essence of their family legacy. Emma's journey was only beginning, and she'd need to figure out what her heart truly wanted before time made the decisions for her. Emma knelt on the kitchen floor, surrounded by scattered pretzels and half-crushed crackers, her heart a jumble of emotions. Jacob, with his tousled hair and innocent smile, was a bittersweet reminder of what she was fighting for. She wrapped her arms around him, lifting him up, while her mind spiraled through her conversation with Francesca. Oops, Jacob giggled. I made a mess, Mommy. You certainly did, Emma said, a laugh bubbling up despite herself. But it's okay, buddy. Let us clean it up together. Teamwork, right? As they started picking up the snacks, Emma noticed the sunlight streaming in through the kitchen window, illuminating tiny specks of dust that floated aimlessly in the air. It was a fleeting moment of clarity. Maybe this small chaos was part of the transformation she was seeking, not just in her work but in her home, her family, her life. Jacob, she said, looking into her son's bright eyes, what do you want to be when you grow up? He paused mid-reach for a cookie. A monster truck driver, he declared with innocent fervor. Emma couldn't help but chuckle, her heart swelling with love. That's awesome. And what if you could also be a driver who helps people, like fixing their cars or something? Jacob frowned, his little face scrunching up in thought. I dunno, but can I still jump really high? Of course. You can do both. You can be anything you want. She hugged him tighter, wishing he knew all the opportunities that lay beyond their small town. That moment, Francesca entered the kitchen, the laughter fading slightly as she surveyed the scene. What are you two up to? Just cleaning, Grandma, Emma replied, trying to keep the atmosphere light. And we're brainstorming Jacob's future. Francesca's expression softened, and for a moment, it felt like the weight of their earlier conversation lifted. I used to think about my future, Francesca said softly, her voice carrying a hint of nostalgia. I wanted to be a painter, but life took a different path, didn't it? Emma felt the shift in the air. Francesca was opening up in a way she hadn't expected. This was a foreshadowing, a thread of connection between the past and a future they could explore together. What if we could blend our dreams? Emma suggested, sweeping the last of the crumbs into a dustpan. Find a way to craft something new while holding on to what makes our family special? Francesca looked at her, fraught with the weight of years of hard-earned wisdom. You mean a project? Something to bring our community together and keep our traditions alive? Exactly. Emma felt the fire sparking in her heart again. We could organize an event, a fair, maybe. Highlight local talents and traditions, but also bring in ideas for growth. Inspire people like Claire does. Francesca's gaze softened, considering it, and for the first time, Emma saw a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. But it will be work, Emma, she cautioned, a note of reality creeping back in. And it won't be easy. There will be challenges. We can't forget that. I'm ready, Grandma, Emma replied, determination flooding her voice. I can't do it alone, but I want us to do this together. Just then, Jacob's loud cheer interrupted them. Yep. Let us do it together. Like superheroes. Both women laughed, and in that moment of shared joy, Emma felt a renewed sense of clarity. Perhaps this was how she could honor her family's legacy, a legacy woven with the threads of their history, while molding it into something bold and vibrant. Emma's heart raced as she considered what lay ahead. They were embarking on a journey to redefine their identity. And it was no longer just her ambition, it was a shared dream growing between 3 generations. Little did she know, however, that this simple idea would soon be tested in ways she could never imagine. Would they be able to withstand the challenging tides ahead, or would doubt and division threaten to splinter them? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm colors through the window, Emma knew she had to seize the moment. But the question lingered, was she prepared for the storm that was bound to follow? Emma was awake long before dawn, her mind racing at the possibilities. The idea of a community fair sparked something deep within her. She could already see the banners fluttering in the breeze, hear the laughter of families, and smell the delicious food stalls lining the street. It was a vision that lit her up like the sunrise spilling through her kitchen window. But as morning settled in, so did a wave of doubt. Would anyone really support her? The town felt small, filled with whispers of the past. Emma brushed aside her concerns and focused on Jacob, who was still fast asleep, his soft breath fluttering against his blanket. Mommy, he chirped suddenly as he stretched awake. Can we build a big truck for my fair? Emma laughed, his innocent enthusiasm like a sweet melody. Maybe we can. But first we need to love our town a little more, you know? Jacob's brows furrowed in confusion. Love it? Like when you buy flowers. Exactly, buddy. We can show everyone how amazing our town is. We can make it brighter. After a quick breakfast, Emma decided it was time to talk to Francesca again. Knowing they had a mountain of work ahead, she felt the earlier energy rushing back. If they were going to do this, they needed a solid plan. The morning sun painted the kitchen gold as Emma found Francesca seated at the table, sipping her coffee and staring thoughtfully at the floor. Grandma, I've been thinking maybe we need to write down all our ideas. Brainstorm. Put everything out there, she urged. Francesca looked up, a hint of enthusiasm glimmering in her eyes. That could help. We should rally the community, too. This isn't only our vision. Emma's heart soared. I can talk to Claire. She owns the community center and knows everyone in town. If she's on board, others will follow. Francesca nodded, a smile creeping across her lips. Yes. Invite more voices. It's about pulling everyone in. Let us get a true representation of what our town wants. Just as they began drafting their thoughts, Jacob zoomed past them with his toy truck, roaring with delight. Vroom, vroom. His laugh rang through the kitchen like a reminder of purpose. Okay, let us add a children's area, Emma suggested, scribbling furiously. Games, crafts, maybe even a story corner. Francesca added we should highlight local artists too. They could share their work. It'd be nice to merge creativity with family fun. With each word, excitement crackled between them. They formulated plans, gathering elements that celebrated their shared history while embracing the new. Ideas bounced back and forth, energizing them in a way Emma hadn't felt in ages. But despite the thrill, Emma couldn't suppress the apprehension lurking beneath the surface. What if the response wasn't what she hoped it would be? What if they faced pushback from those clinging to tradition? As the afternoon wore on, Emma found herself standing by the window, watching the kids play outside. She turned back to Francesca. What do we do if people don't want change? If they resist? Francesca placed a steady hand on Emma's shoulder. Change is hard, darling. You have to be brave. Maybe consider asking why they feel that way. Find out what they truly love about our town. Could open doors. Emma nodded, her heartbeat swift against her ribs. The prospect of facing opposition was daunting, but she needed to remember the rush of ambition that brought them together. We'll start small, she promised, determination creeping back. Just a few flyers and a community meeting. No pressure. We might be surprised. Francesca smiled again, a glint of pride in her eyes. Exactly. And remember, burnout is real. We have to take care of ourselves in this endeavor. The weight of it all settled back on Emma as she nodded, but she pushed the fears aside. They had a plan. They had each other. And then Jacob burst in, his eyes shining bright. What's next, superheroes? Emma's heart filled with warmth, but just as she opened her mouth to answer, an unexpected knock echoed through the house. Who could it be? Before she could even find the courage to wonder, the door swung open, revealing Claire, the spark they needed. Emma's mind raced. Would she be the ally they were hoping for, or another hurdle they'd have to leap? Hey, is this a good time? Claire asked, her face lit with a curious excitement. Perfect timing, Emma said, her voice uncertain yet eager. The future loomed before them, as unpredictable as the wind. And just like that, they were on the edge of something big. The question lingered in the air. What direction would this journey take now? Claire stepped inside, shaking off the chill from the brisk outside air. Her presence brought an immediate warmth, and for a moment, Emma felt a rush of hope that maybe, just maybe, Claire would be exactly what they needed. Here's what I was thinking, Claire said, her voice lively and engaging. You want to put together a fair, right? Well, I've got connections. I can help get the word out, reach out to vendors, but first I need to know the vision. What's the heart of it? Emma glanced at Francesca, who squeezed her hand reassuringly. We want to celebrate our town, Emma said, her voice gaining strength. To bring families together, showcase our local talent, and rebuild a sense of community. That's beautiful, Claire replied, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. We have so much talent here. We can find local musicians, artists, even food trucks that can offer something special. Jacob, with his wide eyes, chimed in, and a big truck for the fair. Everyone laughed, and it felt as if the heaviness of the day started to lift. Speaking of trucks, Claire said, what about a parade? We could involve schools, local businesses, and everyone could decorate their vehicles. Emma's heart raced at the thought, imagining the streets lined with colorful floats and excited children waving. Yes, parade could be the highlight, could draw people in. Francesca nodded, her excitement rising. This could be a real celebration, a way to remind everyone why they love living here. As they brainstormed, each idea felt like a thread weaving them into the fabric of the community, stitching together old and new, tradition and innovation. They shared stories and laughed, their imaginations running wild as they focused on small details. But a tiny voice in Emma's mind reminded her of the looming challenge. The townsfolk had their reservations about change. What if some people get upset? Emma asked, her excitement wavering slightly. What if they think we're trying to erase what the town has always been? Claire's expression softened. I know change is hard. People often fear losing what they hold dear. But maybe if we show them what we're creating, a fusion of the past and the future, they'll come around. It's about getting everyone on board before the fair, letting them share their stories and feelings. With determination renewed, Emma pointed at her notes. Then we need to set up a meeting. We can invite everyone, have an open discussion. Let them share their thoughts and ideas. That'll help build trust. Absolutely, Claire agreed, a sense of determination filling the room. Let us make it a family-friendly gathering with refreshments. A chance for everyone to connect over this project. As the ideas continued to fly, Emma felt a palpable energy building around them. This was more than just a fair, it was their chance to build bridges in the community. To remind each other of their shared history while painting the future with a broader palette. Then Jacob interrupted. His face lit up with an idea. Can we make fairy lights? Lots and lots of lights for the night? Laughter broke out, and each adult found themselves beaming at his innocent enthusiasm. There was something magical in Jacob's suggestion. A promise of joy in the little things. We can do that, Emma said, her voice brimming with hope. Lighting up the night could make it a real spectacle. We want to shine with pride. As they explored the possibilities under the afternoon sun, Emma felt a heartening warmth within, easing the doubts she had harbored. But just as she was about to voice her next thought, a loud rumble followed by a commotion outside signaled an unexpected shift. The three turned towards the window. A crowd was gathering, voices rising in passion. Was someone opposing their fair idea already? Emma felt her chest tighten. Could this be the challenge she had dreaded before they even started? What is happening out there? Claire murmured, concerned. Emma clasped her hands, feeling the weight of uncertainty. She had never wanted to be the center of conflict, yet here she was about to encounter the very resistance she feared. Would they turn away from the warmth she hoped to generate? Or could this be an opportunity to build something real? Let us find out, Emma said, swallowing hard. With newfound resolve, she led the way out into the tempest of voices, turning her dream into something tangible. As Emma pushed through the door, the cool breeze met her like a slap, contrasting sharply with the warmth of the room behind her. The noise thickened as she stepped into the crowd, a mix of excitement and anxiety coursing through her veins. Claire and Francesca followed closely, their faces taut with concern. The crowd was gathered in a tight knot, voices overlapping like a tangled web of uncertainty. Emma strained to catch snippets of conversation. Words like tradition and should not change cut through the air, each laden with fear and resistant energy. Stay close, Claire whispered, her hand on Emma's shoulder. The closer they got, the more Emma could see familiar faces from the town. Older folks who had lived their lives under the same oak trees and had watched their children grow. There were murmurs of worry among them, the palpable fear of losing something integral. Why change our ways? This town has been the same for generations, shouted Mr. Hargrove, a local legend himself, his voice booming above the others. Emma's heart sank. The strong winds of nostalgia were pulling the crowd together, but not in a way she had hoped. A knot twisted in her stomach. How could she explain that change didn't erase their history, but rather enriched it? Francesca stepped forward, her clear voice breaking the tension. We're not here to change everything overnight, she said, her sincerity palpable. We want to celebrate what we have and bring everyone together to share ideas. The crowd quieted briefly, a ripple of attention shifting towards her. Emma felt a flicker of hope. Maybe Francesca could guide them. Celebrating doesn't mean forgetting, Claire added, stepping beside Francesca, her eyes scanning the group. We want to showcase local talent, help kids and families get involved, not take anything away. But a woman's voice rose, jagged with resentment. And what's to say this new fair won't just bring chaos? What if it ruins the festivals we've cherished for decades? Emma felt the weight of each fearful word. They were valid concerns for each person in the crowd. Let us discuss this. Emma spoke up, her nerves almost getting the best of her. Let us hear everyone's ideas. Concerns, even the ones we may not agree on. We can listen, really listen, and find a way to move forward together. The moment hung thick in the air, waiting for response. The crowd shifted slightly, some faces softening, others still skeptical. But there was a flicker of curiosity in their eyes. She could work with that. Set up a meeting right here next week. Emma pressed on, finding strength in her own voice. We'll gather input, and I promise, We'll find solutions that honor our history while paving a way for our future together. Mr. Hargrove's brow relaxed slightly, and for a fleeting moment, Emma sensed a crack in the resistance. A meeting sounds fair, he conceded, glancing around at the faces of friends and neighbors. The doubt lingered, but so did a hint of hope that a young boy tugged on his mother's sleeve, whispering, "Can I help with the lights?" Emma's heart soared at the innocent question. "Yes," she replied, the enthusiasm flowing back. "Everyone can help. We can have a lights contest or a storytelling event. Let this be our town's fair." Together, the murmurs melded into a buzz. People began to talk amongst themselves, leaning in to share thoughts that were starting to transform from skepticism to cautious excitement. But before Emma could fully bask in the shift, a sudden shout came from the back, a voice they hadn't seen before. "And who's in charge here? You can't just waltz in and think you can change things." Emma swallowed hard again as she turned to face the newcomer. The crowd parted, revealing a tall figure with a fierce glare. "I'm Alex," they said, a defiant challenge in their eyes. "Let us see if you have what it takes to make this community work together, instead of tearing it apart." A weight settled heavily on Emma's chest. The challenge was new, one she had never expected. Could they turn this tide, or would they drown under the weight of tradition? Determination surged within her. "We'll find a way," she vowed silently. But what would it take for everyone to see the joy in the change she envisioned? Emma could feel that their journey had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than she ever anticipated. Emma stood there, heart racing, as Alex's piercing gaze seemed to challenge her very essence. The tension crackled in the air, and she was painfully aware of the shifting dynamics in the crowd. She had launched a spark of hope, but now it felt like they were standing on a precipice, with old fears swirling around them like a storm. "Look," Emma started, forcing a calmness into her voice, trying to connect. "Everyone has a voice in this. We can build something together that honors tradition while embracing new ideas." But Alex didn't budge. "Did you ask anyone if they wanted this new fair of yours? Or are you just here to impose your vision on our town?" Their words sliced through the air, igniting murmurs of agreement among some in the crowd. Emma shifted her weight, feeling the eyes watering on her, longing for understanding. "I want to listen. I don't want to impose anything. I grew up here just like you. I care about this town and its future." A ripple of uncertainty passed through the crowd. Alex's stance softened slightly, but their eyes still held doubt. "Then why don't you start by sharing what you've envisioned?" Alex challenged. "Let us see if it makes sense for those of us who live here, day in and day out." Emma felt a surge of energy, a mix of anxiety and hope. "All right," she said, her voice gaining strength. "Picture this. A fair that celebrates not just new talent, but all of us, our local businesses, artists, history. It's not about changing who we are. It's about shining a light on what we can become together." The people shifted again, some intrigued, others still rigid with mistrust. Emma searched their eyes, seeking encouragement through their hesitation. "What about the things we love?" A man called out, his voice wavering. "Will those be included? The pie contest? The apple cider press?" "Yes," Emma exclaimed, the memory of sweet cider and laughter flooding her heart. "Let us build on everything that South always made this place special. I want your ideas, your traditions, the very heart of what means home. We can do this together, I promise." A wave of voices erupted, this time a melody of suggestions filling the hollow space. It was as if Emma's words had opened a door, inviting everyone in. She turned and noticed Francesca beaming, Claire nodding in encouragement. Hope grounded them, but Alex still stood apart, arms crossed, measuring the scene, unwilling to fully join yet. "Maybe you should lead a brainstorming session," Francesca suggested, breaking the tension. "We can gather here next week, and everyone can bring their ideas. If we create this fair together, it'll truly belong to everyone." More nods filled the crowd, a whisper of collective agreement swirling in the warm evening air. Emma felt the moment shift. It was fragile, but they had something to build on now. "All right," Alex finally relented, lowering their guard just a fraction. "But I'll be watching. I want to see what the plan really is. Great. Emma smiled, a sense of relief washing over her. Maybe they could steer this toward something beautiful, transforming doubt into collaboration. But just as the atmosphere began to lighten, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows that crept through the crowd. Don't take it lightly, someone warned, and the weight of that sentiment hung heavily over them. Transition isn't always easily accepted in a town like ours. Emma stiffened, the reality settling deep in her chest. It wasn't just about ideas or meetings. It was about open hearts and willing spirits. Could they genuinely come together? As the crowd began to disperse, conversation buzzing like a busy hive, Emma felt a flicker of doubt creep back in. What would happen if Alex turned out to be right? Would their plans falter? She watched the sun sink lower, casting the world in shades of orange and purple. That bitterness lingered, but with it so did hope. Next week, she whispered to herself, determination igniting within her once again. We'll figure it out. But beneath that determination lay a question that twisted uncomfortably in her mind. Would they truly be able to embrace the change, or would they cling to tradition at all costs? Emma's journey was far from over, and the path ahead beckoned with both fear and promise. With the next meeting, the heart of their community would be tested in ways she could not yet imagine. The following week arrived too quickly for Emma. She spent sleepless nights jotting down notes, ideas swirling in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. With every thought came a surge of excitement mixed with an undercurrent of fear. What if this wasn't enough? What if the town's past held more weight than their dreams for the future? As she set up for the brainstorming session in the community hall, Emma's heart raced. The familiar wooden walls were adorned with old banners representing fairs from decades past. She took a deep breath, hoping inspiration lingered in every corner. She placed notepads and pens on each table, a symbol of a fresh start and the potential for collaboration. The crowd trickled in, a mix of familiar faces, some with warm nods and encouraging smiles, while others bore expressions etched with skepticism. Emma watched as Alex entered, a quiet storm in their eyes. Their presence weighed heavily on her, grounding her uncertainty. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady but laced with nervousness. "I know change can be intimidating, but this fair can honor both our cherished traditions and our hope for new beginnings. Today I want to hear all your ideas." A low murmuring filled the room, the sound both comforting and daunting. Emma sought out faces in the crowd, trying to hold onto the warm glimmers of motivation shining in some eyes. She gestured toward a large whiteboard at the front where they could jot down ideas together. "Let us start with what's important to you. What aspects of our fair do you truly cherish?" she encouraged. Hands went up. The man from last week, with his silver hair and gentle smile, stood first. "The pie contest," he exclaimed, "is something my family has participated in for generations. It's not just about baking, it's about community." "Absolutely," Emma replied, jotting it down. They could frame the contest as not just competition but also a way to share recipes, love, and memories. One by one, voices began to rise. Someone called out, "What about a space for local artists?" Heads nodded in agreement. Another shouted, "Don't forget the hayrides." Laughter rippled through the room as familiar memories bubbled up. But as the session progressed, Emma noticed Alex's tense posture holding back from fully engaging. Their brow furrowed, arms crossed tightly. She wanted to invite them in, but she felt a chasm between the fervent voices and Alex's walls. Breaking the momentum, Emma turned her gaze toward Alex. "What are your thoughts? Is there something you think we're missing?" Silence filled the air as all eyes turned to Alex. Emma held her breath. Would they speak up? Slowly, Alex unfolded their arms, vulnerability flickering behind their guarded expression. "I appreciate what everyone is suggesting," they said, their voice steady but softening. "But what are we doing to avoid this becoming just another event that fades into old routines?" An unexpected quiet fell over the room. Emma's heart practically skipped. Here was the opening she needed, a chance to bridge the gap. "That's a valid point," she said, eager to seize the moment. "We shouldn't just replicate what's always been. Instead, we can use this fair as a way to launch a new community initiative and annual markup between older values and new ideas. What if we create a committee to keep our traditions alive while inviting fresh contributions every year? A buzz began to grow once more, and nods of consideration replaced the earlier doubts. Ideas bounced around the room like a joyful game of catch, each suggestion building upon the last, wrapping them all together like woven threads. But what surprised Emma was the way Alex's expression began to shift, curiosity breaking free. Hopeful opinions sparked light in their eyes, and Emma couldn't help but smile. Perhaps they truly could find common ground. Above the drone of excitement, Emma's pulse quickened with a different sense of urgency. She had opened a door, but what lay beyond? What uncharted territory would they navigate as a community? She felt a surge of determination, but the reality loomed large. Changes wouldn't come easy. The past would claw at their heels, but they were stepping into something new together. Emma looked around the room, faces illuminated with energy. The warmth of possibility pulsed around them, yet doubts still lingered like shadows in the corners of her mind. Would they all truly commit to bridging the gap? The question lingered as she caught Alex's eye, their unspoken connection igniting something between them. "Let us keep the conversation flowing," she said, her voice rising above the noise. "But remember, it's not just about what we do once, it's about shaping our future together." But would the momentum sustain itself beyond this room? Emma had no answers yet, only the bright blur of passion and uncertainty as they stepped closer to unknown possibilities. As the days rolled into the next week, Emma found herself waking up brimming with anticipation, yet weighed down by worry. The meeting had been a breakthrough, a spark igniting the heart of the community, while unearthing the remnants of fears buried under years of tradition. It felt like standing on the edge of two worlds, waiting for the leap that would define their futures. The morning sun streamed through her window, casting a warm glow that awakened her spirit. Jacob's animated laughter echoed from the living room as he tried to convince Francesca to join him in a game. A smile spread across Emma's face, love swelling in her chest. This was why she was fighting so hard, for moments like these where family and laughter filled the air. But alongside that joy, an incessant voice in her head reminded her of the challenge looming ahead. The town meeting loomed like a thunderous storm, the tension still simmering beneath their laughter. Emma squeezed Jacob's shoulder as he dashed by, wishing things were different. How could she bring together a community divided by uncertainty? Later that day, Emma, Francesca, and Claire gathered at the community center to finalize their plans for the upcoming fair. Lively decorations were strewn across their table, sketches of bright banners and activities detailed with boundless enthusiasm. Claire's ambitious spirit uplifted them, yet a creeping anxiety settled in as they strategized over the presentation. What if they don't like our ideas? Emma's voice quivered slightly, grounding them all, but adding weight to the air. Francesca's gaze softened with understanding. Change is scary, Emma. But remember, we're not forgetting our roots. We're transforming them. Her words washed over Emma like soothing rain as they worked into the night, energy fluctuating between excitement and fear. Emma's belief solidified. They were woven together, and despite the challenges, the working-class spirit of resilience flared in her heart. The day of the fair dawned bright and clear. Colors splashed vibrantly against the earth, the air buzzing with expectation. Emma's stomach fluttered with nervous hope as she stepped outside, taking in the throngs of families gathering. Children dashed past her, pushing decorated carts, laughter mingling with music that floated in the breeze. People milled about, their faces radiating anticipation. Yet looming over her was that unsettling tension: would they pull together or tear apart? As she approached the central area where all her dreams converged into reality, eyes caught on a familiar figure. Alex stood vigil at the sidelines, a wary expression shadowing their features. Emma held her breath, nerves twisting tighter within her. They had been a thorn in her side, a reminder of what was at stake. But today she needed a bridge, not more walls. "Hey, Alex," Emma called out, approaching with tentative confidence. "I'm glad you're here." With an awkward smile, Alex replied, "I wanted to see what you all put together. It looks kind of nice." A flicker of surprise crossed their face. Was that acceptance? Emma's heart soared slightly, wishing she could peel back the layers of hesitation that kept them apart. Let us take a walk together. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we could improve things. They strolled toward a bustling booth, laughter echoing around them as volunteers engaged festival-goers. See the pie contest? Emma prompted, her eyes sparkling. It's not just a competition. Families are sharing recipes, storytelling about their heritage. It fuses both traditions and new ideas. Alex nodded, contemplating. I can see that. It's a nice mix. But will people care enough to keep this going every year? Emma felt the flutter of excitement paired with doubt. That's what we need to figure out as a community, she articulated, her voice steadier now. It's not just about this fair. It's about creating memories that tie us together. And as she spoke, something shifted. Alex's guarded heart seemed to warm, like sunlight breaching a heavy cloud. I want this too, they said quietly, the tension easing in their shoulders. I just get scared that we'll lose something along the way. Me too, Emma admitted. But change doesn't have to erase our roots. Can help us grow. As the day progressed, sparks of connection began to intertwine among the attendees. People laughed, shared stories, and offered their thoughts freely. Some gathered under old trees, reminiscing about fairs from years back, while children raced through colorful games, inching their hearts closer to the glimmer of unity. Emma's heart swelled with pride. They were creating the community she had yearned for. In the midst of it all, a light breeze drifted through the fair, carrying the mingled scents of laughter and fresh apple cider. Moments hung in the air like delicate ornaments, and Emma felt the togetherness begin to weave into a tapestry of hope, the very thing she had fought for. With lightness in her step, Emma called for everyone to gather. The crowd quieted, anticipation brimming in their eyes. Thank you all for being here, for bringing our dreams to life. As she spoke, she noticed Alex standing at the edge, their arms uncrossed now, an unmistakable smile emerging on their lips as they engaged with others near them. One thing I believe stronger than anything, Emma continued, her voice gaining momentum, is that without each other, we don't thrive. Together, we can build something beautiful. Let us honor our past. Let us cherish it with the future we create. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a surge of shared energy flowing through the air. With each clap, resentment and fear fell by the wayside, replaced by something more crucial: hope and community. Suddenly, Emma spotted Francesca, older yet determined, standing alongside her, the warmth of their bond expressed in that supportive gaze. It was a silent agreement between them, acknowledging their journey and growth. As the sun set, bathing the fair in golden light, something monumental crossed Emma's heart. The fair wasn't just an event. It was their new tradition, a bridge between generations, a promise that the past and future could coexist. As laughter mingled with music and connections deepened, Emma realized they had somehow managed to honor both their heritage and their life ahead. And she knew this was just the beginning. This fair would serve as their commitment, their transformation, a roadmap for how they navigate challenges that lay ahead. Together, they could not only survive but truly thrive. And as everything fell into place around her, Emma felt a profound satisfaction ripple through her, finally able to embrace her dreams, unapologetically embracing a new era for her family, for her town. It was in moments like these that she realized they were far stronger together. As the stars emerged overhead, illuminating the newfound camaraderie, Emma held on tightly to that truth. For those brave enough to leap into uncertainty, the rewards were infinite. Now was the time to act. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next incredible story. Your support means everything. Leave a like right now to help boost the channel. Every gesture counts. Comment below with your thoughts about this transformation. Your voice is crucial to keeping the conversation alive. And don't wait not even one more second to share this uplifting story with at least 5 friends who are in need of inspiration.